Welcome back to the EMT Spots Blood Pressure Podcast. I'm Samuel Harrison, and each week we take a deep dive into the world of blood pressure.
And I'm Olivia Harper.
Today we're exploring a connection that might surprise you, the link between your gut and your blood pressure. It's a fascinating area of research that's changing how we think about cardiovascular health.
We often talk about diet and exercise when it comes to managing blood pressure, but it turns out that this incredible ecosystem of microorganisms living in our gut, known as the gut microbiome, plays a significant role too.
Okay, so we've got trillions of bacteria just hanging out in our digestive system. What makes them so important for blood pressure?
Well, what's fascinating is that these microbes aren't just passive residents. They actively communicate with our bodies, producing these metabolites, or chemical byproducts, that can influence various bodily functions, including blood pressure regulation.
So these bacterial metabolites act as messengers, kind of relaying signals between our gut and our cardiovascular system.
Precisely. And some of these messengers can have a direct impact on blood pressure, for instance. We've identified certain short-chain fatty acids, or SCFAs, produced by beneficial bacteria that have shown promise in reducing blood pressure.
I've heard of CFAs before, but I always associate them with gut health. Can you elaborate on how they might be lowering blood pressure?
Well, one key SCFA butyrate plays a vital role in maintaining the integrity of our gut lining when the gut lining is compromised. It can lead to a condition known as leaky gut, which allows substances to enter the bloodstream that can trigger inflammation throughout the body, including in our blood vessels. This inflammation can contribute to high blood pressure.
So butyrate helps keep our gut sealed tight, preventing this leaky gut phenomenon and subsequent inflammation.
Exactly. But it's not just about preventing inflammation. Some SCFAs, like propionate, may actually regulate blood pressure directly by interacting with receptors in blood vessels, like they have a direct line of communication with our circulatory system.
That's incredible. So promoting a healthy gut microbiome rich in these beneficial bacteria that produce SCFAs could be a key strategy in managing blood pressure.
It's certainly an area of intense research, and the findings are quite promising.
But I understand it's not all good news in the microbial world. There's some bad guys in there too, right?
That's right. Just like there are beneficial bacteria that produce helpful metabolites, there are also those that generate compounds that can have a negative impact on blood pressure.
Can you give me an example of one of these problematic microbial metabolites?
One that has garnered a lot of attention is trimethylamine N oxide, or TMAO. It's produced by certain bacteria when they break down compounds found in red meat, and fish studies have shown a correlation between elevated TMAO levels and an increased risk of cardiovascular issues, including high blood pressure.
So those delicious steaks and salmon fillets might be contributing to the production of this TMAO, which can have detrimental effects on our cardiovascular system.
It's not to say that we should completely avoid these foods, but moderation is key. What's important is understanding the potential implications and making informed choices about our diet.
Right, it's all about balance. And speaking of balance, this brings us back to the concept of gut dysbiosis, that imbalance in the gut microbiome that we often hear about.
Yes, dysbiosis is a key factor in many health issues, and cardiovascular health is no exception.
Can you remind us how gut dysbiosis might be contributing to high blood pressure?
When the delicate balance of our gut microbiome is disrupted, it can lead to a decrease in the diversity of beneficial bacteria and an overgrowth of harmful species. This can shift the production of metabolites towards those that promote inflammation and potentially elevate blood pressure.
So it's like the bad guys gain the upper hand, creating a more hostile environment in our gut that ultimately impacts our cardiovascular system.
That's a great way to put it. And this shift in the microbial balance can have far-reaching effects not just on blood pressure, but on various other aspects of cardiovascular health.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. What are some of the other ways that gut dysbiosis might be impacting our hearts and blood vessels?
Well, let's delve into that in the next part of our deep dive. We'll explore the connection between gut dysbiosis and conditions like atherosclerosis, rheumatic heart disease, and even atrial fibrillation.
I can't wait to hear more about those fascinating links. But for now, we need to wrap up this part of our discussion.
Welcome back to the EMT Spots Blood Pressure Podcast.
We're continuing our exploration of the gut microbiome and its intricate connection to cardiovascular health.
Before the break, we were discussing how imbalances in the gut microbiome, that state of dysbiosis, can contribute to high blood pressure.
Right, and you hinted that this microbial imbalance could have broader implications for our hearts and blood vessels.
Absolutely. It seems that gut dysbiosis is entangled with a whole range of cardiovascular conditions, impacting everything from the health of our arteries to the rhythm of our hearts.
Okay, I'm ready to untangle this web. What other cardiovascular conditions are we talking about?
Well, let's start with atherosclerosis, the buildup of plaque in our arteries. Remember how we talked about butyrate, that beneficial SCFA, helping to maintain the integrity of our gut lining?
Yes, and how a leaky gut can lead to inflammation throughout the body.
Right. Well, that inflammation can also affect our blood vessels when the delicate inner lining of our arteries becomes inflamed. It can create a sticky surface where cholesterol and other substances can accumulate, forming plaque.
So in a way, gut dysbiosis is setting the stage for atherosclerosis by promoting this inflammatory cascade.
That's what the research is suggesting, and it's not just about inflammation. Studies have shown that people with atherosclerosis tend to have lower levels of those butyrate-producing bacteria in their gut.
That makes sense. Less butyrate means a weaker gut lining, more inflammation, and a higher risk of plaque buildup.
Exactly. It's like a domino effect starting in the gut and rippling outwards to affect our cardiovascular system.
This is all starting to make sense, but what about rheumatic heart disease? I know it's usually caused by a strep infection. Where does the gut microbiome fit into that picture?
That's a great question, and it highlights the complexity of this gut-heart connection. Rheumatic heart disease typically develops after an untreated strep infection, leading to an immune response that can damage the heart valves.
Right, so the body's own immune system starts attacking the heart, mistaking it for the strep bacteria.
Exactly, and while the initial trigger is the strep infection, researchers are finding that the composition of the gut microbiome might influence how the immune system responds and how severely the heart is affected.
So it's possible that certain gut microbiome profiles could make someone more susceptible to developing rheumatic heart disease or experiencing more severe complications.
That's one theory being explored. It's still early in the research, but it's a fascinating area of investigation.
It's incredible to think that these tiny microbes in our gut could have such a profound impact on our immune system and ultimately on the health of our heart.
It really underscores the interconnectedness of our bodies, and the gut microbiome's influence doesn't stop there. We're also seeing connections with heart rhythm disorders like atrial fibrillation.
Atrial fibrillation, that's the one where the heart beats irregularly, right?
Yes, and it can lead to a range of complications from blood clots to stroke. What's intriguing is that researchers are finding links between gut dysbiosis and an increased risk of developing atrial fibrillation.
So are we saying that an imbalancing gut bacteria could somehow disrupt the electrical signals in the heart?
While the exact mechanisms are still being unraveled, it appears that inflammation triggered by gut dysbiosis might play a role in disrupting the heart's electrical system, making it more susceptible to irregular rhythms.
Wow, so gut dysbiosis is potentially setting off a chain reaction that can lead to a whole cascade of cardiovascular issues, from atherosclerosis to rheumatic heart disease and even atrial fibrillation. It's a powerful reminder that taking care of our gut health is essential for overall cardiovascular well-being.
Absolutely, and luckily there are things we can do to support a healthy gut microbiome.
Okay, let's talk about those strategies. We touched on diet earlier. Anything else we can do to nurture those beneficial gut bacteria?
Well, exercise has been shown to have a positive impact on the gut microbiome, promoting diversity and increasing the abundance of those good bacteria.
So another reason to get moving, but what about stress? I know it can wreak havoc on our bodies in general. Does it also affect our gut bacteria?
Unfortunately, yes, chronic stress can disrupt the balance of our gut microbiome, contributing to dysbiosis. Finding healthy ways to manage stress, whether it's through meditation yoga or spending time in nature, is crucial for both our mental and gut health.
So we've got diet, exercise, stress management, all those pillars of a healthy lifestyle. But how about sleep? Does that factor into the equation as well?
You know, that's a great question, and it's an area of growing research. There's emerging evidence suggesting a link between sleep quality and the gut microbiome. It seems that poor sleep can contribute to gut dysbiosis, which, as we've discussed, can have downstream effects on cardiovascular health.
Wow, so even our sleep habits are tied into this intricate gut-heart connection. It's amazing and a bit overwhelming to think about all the factors that influence these trillions of tiny creatures living inside us.
It is a lot to take in, but the good news is that we have more control over our gut health than we might realize by making those lifestyle changes, prioritizing a healthy diet, regular exercise, stress management, and quality sleep. We can foster a thriving microbiome that supports both our digestion and our heart health.
It's empowering to know that we can take proactive steps to cultivate a healthy gut ecosystem.
Absolutely. And as research continues to unravel the mysteries of the gut microbiome, we're likely to discover even more ways to harness its power to prevent and even treat cardiovascular disease. But for now, we need to take a quick break.
Stay tuned for the final part of our deep dive, where we'll explore the cutting-edge research that's paving the way for a future of gut-targeted therapies for cardiovascular disease. Welcome back to the EMT Spots Blood Pressure Podcast.
We're wrapping up our deep dive into the fascinating world of the gut microbiome and its impact on cardiovascular health.
We've uncovered some truly remarkable connections between the trillions of bacteria living in our gut and the health of our hearts and blood vessels.
And we've discussed how lifestyle choices, from our diet to our sleep habits, can influence the balance of our gut microbiome.
Now I'm eager to hear more about those cutting-edge therapies you mentioned earlier. What's on the horizon for gut-targeted treatments for cardiovascular disease?
Well, what's exciting is that researchers are utilizing this multi-omics approach, combining different types of biological data like genomics, metabolomics, and proteomics. This allows them to develop a much more complete picture of how the gut microbiome is interacting with our cardiovascular system.
So it's like they're piecing together a complex puzzle using all these different data points to understand how variations in the gut microbiome might be linked to specific cardiovascular conditions.
Precisely, and by identifying these patterns, scientists are starting to develop personalized approaches to treatment.
That sounds like the future of medicine treatments tailored to our unique microbial makeup.
Exactly. Imagine a world where instead of simply prescribing a one-size-fits-all medication, doctors could analyze your gut microbiome and recommend specific probiotics, or even develop drugs that target those harmful metabolites like TMAO.
So in the future, we might be taking a probiotic cocktail specifically designed to restore balance to our gut and protect our heart health.
It's a fascinating possibility. Another avenue of research involves fecal microbiota transplantation, or FMT.
FMT, that's a term I've heard before, but I'll admit it sounds a bit, well, unconventional.
It might not be the most glamorous procedure, but it has shown remarkable success in treating certain gut conditions, and now researchers are investigating its potential for addressing cardiovascular issues related to gut dysbiosis.
That's incredible. So by introducing a healthy mix of bacteria into the gut, we could potentially reverse the negative effects of dysbiosis and improve cardiovascular health.
It's a bold idea, but early research suggests it holds promise. As we delve deeper into this gut-heart connection, we're likely to uncover even more innovative and targeted therapies.
It's a message of hope for anyone struggling with cardiovascular disease, knowing that scientists are working tirelessly to develop new and effective treatments.
It's a reminder that the world within us, this vast community of microorganisms, holds incredible potential for healing and improving our health.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive into the gut microbiome and its impact on cardiovascular health.
Yeah.
Thank you for guiding us through this fascinating world.
My pleasure. It's crucial that we continue to explore and understand this complex interplay between our gut and our overall well-being.
I'm Samuel Harrison.
And I'm Olivia Harper.
You can catch us every week right here on the EMT Spots Blood Pressure Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share this episode with anyone who might benefit from this knowledge. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning.